Welcome back to the English Daily Podcast. I'm Anna, and today we're talking about a topic that is all around us but easy to ignore. We're exploring how architecture shapes daily life. When we say architecture, we mean the design of buildings and spaces. That includes homes, schools, offices, parks, libraries, stations, and even the streets between them. For English learners, this is a useful topic because it gives us practical vocabulary for describing places, feelings, and everyday experiences. Jake, do you think most people notice architecture, or do they just move through buildings without thinking much about them?
I think most people notice architecture only when something feels very good or very bad. If a room is bright, calm, and comfortable, we may feel relaxed without asking why. If a place is dark, noisy, or confusing, we feel stressed very quickly. That is why architecture matters. It influences mood, behavior, and even relationships. A good starting word for listeners is layout. Layout means the way parts of a building or room are arranged. For example, an open layout in a home means the kitchen, dining area, and living room connect more freely. A practical English tip is to compare places by saying, this office has a flexible layout, but that cafe has a cramped layout. Cramped means too small and uncomfortable.
That's a great point. Architecture is not only about beauty. It is also about function. Function means the purpose of something and how well it works. A beautiful staircase may look impressive, but if it is hard to use, the design is not very functional. Intermediate learners can practice a very natural sentence pattern here. You can say, it looks good, but it does not work well. Or, it is both attractive and practical. Another useful word is accessible. If a place is accessible, people can enter and use it more easily, including older adults, children, and people with disabilities. Ramps, elevators, clear signs, and wide doorways all improve accessibility. So architecture can make life easier or harder depending on the design.
Yes, and let's connect this to daily routines. Think about your morning at home. The size of your window affects how much natural light enters your room. Natural light means sunlight that comes in without artificial lamps. Studies often show that light can affect energy and concentration. If your kitchen is organized well, you can prepare breakfast faster. If your bathroom has enough storage, your routine becomes smoother. Here is another useful word, storage. Storage means space for keeping things. English learners can describe their own homes with simple but effective sentences like, my apartment has limited storage, so I use shelves, or my bedroom gets plenty of natural light in the morning. Plenty of means more than enough.
Let's move from private space to public space. Public space includes places shared by everyone, such as sidewalks, plazas, parks, and train stations. The design of public space can encourage people to meet, walk, rest, and talk. Or it can do the opposite. For example, a square with benches, trees, and shade invites people to stay longer. Shade means protection from direct sunlight. In contrast, a large empty area with no seating may feel cold or unfriendly. This brings us to the word inviting. If a place is inviting, it feels welcoming and pleasant. You can say, the cafe has an inviting atmosphere because of its warm lighting and wooden furniture. That sentence sounds very natural in everyday English.
And architecture also affects movement. Some spaces guide people smoothly, while others create confusion. Think about airports or hospitals. When signs are clear and hallways are logical, people can find their way more easily. A useful phrase here is find your way around. It means to navigate a place successfully. There is also an important design word, flow. Flow describes how people move through a space. Good flow reduces stress. Poor flow creates traffic, delays, and frustration. If you want to sound more advanced in English, try saying, the building has a good flow, so visitors can find their way around quickly. That sounds more precise than simply saying, the building is nice.
I like that because it shows how language and observation work together. Let's talk about materials too. Materials are the substances used to build something, like wood, brick, glass, steel, or concrete. Different materials create different feelings. Wood often feels warm and natural. Glass can feel modern and open because it lets in light and creates transparency. Transparency usually means openness, and in design it can also describe the effect of being able to see through a space. Concrete can feel strong and solid, but sometimes also cold. If learners want to describe buildings better, they can combine material words with feeling words. For example, the library uses wood and soft lighting, so it feels calm and welcoming.
That idea becomes even more interesting when we talk about culture. Architecture reflects local history, climate, values, and available resources. In hot countries, buildings may include courtyards, high ceilings, or shaded walkways to keep spaces cooler. In rainy places, roofs may be steep so water can run off more easily. A courtyard is an open area surrounded by walls or buildings. A ceiling is the top inside surface of a room. These details are not random. They solve problems. That is a very practical lesson for learners too. When you travel, you can ask, why are homes designed this way here? That question can lead to a deeper cultural conversation than simply asking where to eat or what to visit.
Exactly. Architecture is like a silent teacher. It shows what a society cares about. If a city invests in sidewalks, bike lanes, and public libraries, it communicates values such as health, learning, and community. If neighborhoods have very little green space, that also sends a message. Green space means areas with grass, trees, or plants, especially in cities. Research often suggests that green space can improve mental well-being and reduce stress. For English learners, notice the phrase invest in. We invest in something when we give time, money, or effort to improve it. So you might say, many cities are investing in greener public spaces to improve quality of life.
There is also the question of scale. Scale means the size of something in relation to people or other things. A building can be impressive, but if it feels too huge and unfriendly, people may not enjoy being near it. Human scale means design that feels comfortable for the human body and everyday experience. For instance, a street with small shops, trees, windows, and places to sit often feels more human than a street lined only with giant blank walls. Blank means empty, with no detail or decoration. If listeners want a useful speaking pattern, try this one. The area feels human in scale because the buildings are not overwhelming. Overwhelming means so strong or large that it becomes difficult to handle.
Let's bring in a home example again. Imagine two apartments with the same number of rooms. One may feel larger because it uses space efficiently. Efficiently means in a way that avoids waste and works well. Built-in shelves, sliding doors, and multi-purpose furniture can make a small apartment feel practical and comfortable. Multi-purpose means useful for more than one function. A table might be used for eating, studying, and working. That is why good design is not always about having more space. Sometimes it is about using space wisely. This is an important everyday English idea because people often discuss rent, housing, and comfort in both casual and professional conversations.
Now let's look at schools and workplaces. Architecture can influence learning and productivity. Productivity means how much useful work gets done. In a classroom, daylight, fresh air, acoustics, and seating arrangement can affect attention. Acoustics refers to how sound behaves in a room. If a room has bad acoustics, voices may echo, and students may struggle to hear clearly. In an office, quiet zones support concentration, while shared areas support teamwork. Quiet zone means a place designed for silent or focused work. So architecture can help balance collaboration and privacy. That balance matters because not everyone works well in the same kind of environment.
That connects nicely to feelings of control. People often feel better in spaces where they can adjust something, like opening a window, moving a chair, or choosing a quieter corner. A sense of control can improve comfort and reduce stress. This leads to another useful word, flexible. A flexible space can change depending on people's needs. Maybe a room can be used for meetings in the morning and study sessions in the afternoon. English learners can use flexible in many contexts, not only architecture. You can say, I need a flexible schedule, a flexible workspace, or a flexible plan. It is a high-frequency word, which means it appears often in real life.
We should also mention sustainability, because modern architecture often discusses environmental impact. Sustainability means meeting present needs without causing too much harm to the future. In building design, that can include energy-efficient lighting, better insulation, recycled materials, and smart water use. Insulation is material that helps keep heat in or out. A building with good insulation stays warmer in winter and cooler in summer, so it uses less energy. A handy phrase for learners is energy efficient. For example, these new apartments are more energy efficient because they use better windows and insulation. This vocabulary is useful in news articles, job interviews, and everyday conversations about cost and climate.
I want to add one more human point. Architecture can shape social behavior. Think about a neighborhood with front porches, shared gardens, and walkable streets. People are more likely to greet neighbors and have short conversations. Walkable means easy and pleasant to walk in. On the other hand, if everything is far apart and designed mainly for cars, people may interact less often. Of course, architecture does not control us completely, but it creates opportunities or barriers. Opportunity means a good chance for something to happen, and barrier means something that makes progress harder. So design can support community, even if it cannot guarantee it.
That's true, and it gives learners a chance to express opinions. You could say, I prefer neighborhoods that are walkable and have mixed-use spaces. Mixed use means an area that combines homes, shops, offices, or services. This kind of design can make daily life more convenient because people do not need to travel far for everything. It can also make streets livelier. Lively means full of energy and activity. A practical speaking tip is to explain your preference with because. For example, I prefer a lively neighborhood because I can walk to cafés, stores, and the park. This simple structure makes your English clearer and more persuasive.
Before we finish, let's give listeners a small observation exercise. Tomorrow, when you go outside, choose one building or street and ask yourself 5 questions. First, how does this place make me feel? Second, what design features create that feeling? Third, is it easy to move through the space? Fourth, who is included and who might be left out? And fifth, what would I improve? This exercise helps with both critical thinking and English vocabulary. You can even keep a notebook and write short descriptions. For example, the station is efficient but not inviting, or the park feels peaceful because it has trees, shade, and open views. Short observations like these build fluency.
I like that exercise because it turns ordinary life into language practice. You do not need to be an architect to talk about architecture. You only need to notice how spaces affect comfort, movement, mood, and connection. Today we covered useful vocabulary like layout, function, accessible, public space, flow, materials, scale, efficient, acoustics, flexible, sustainability, and walkable. We also talked about practical sentence patterns for giving opinions and descriptions. So here's the recap. Architecture shapes daily life by influencing how we feel, how we move, how we learn, how we work, and how we relate to other people. Thanks for listening to the English Daily Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more practical English conversations, and we'll see you next time.